The annual Sullivan family dinner was in full swing at my parents' Victorian mansion in Boston's Beacon Hill. Crystal glasses clinked as my relatives, doctors, surgeons, and hospital administrators all discussed their latest medical triumphs. And then I told the chief of surgery, my brother James boasted, swirling his Bordeaux, that my new cardiovascular technique would revolutionize the department. Aunt Linda turned her perfectly styled gray head toward me. "Sarah, dear, are you still working those long nursing shifts at Mass General? Such demanding work." I smiled politely, cutting into my filet mignon. "Actually, you know," she continued, not waiting for my response, "your cousin Patricia just made chief resident, following in her father's footsteps." She sighed dramatically. "If only you'd finished medical school instead of dropping out." The familiar weight of disappointment settled over the table. 3 generations of Sullivan doctors, and I was the first to quit. What they didn't know was why I'd left medical school 6 years ago. "At least she's still in healthcare," Mom offered weakly, ever the peacekeeper. "Though Sarah darling, you could still go back. It's not too late to become a real." My phone buzzed. The table fell silent as I checked the screen. "Miss Sullivan, sorry to interrupt your dinner," my assistant's voice came through clearly. "But the hospital board is waiting in the conference room. They need your signature on the final acquisition documents." Dad paused, his wine glass halfway to his lips. "Tell them I'll be online in 5 minutes, I replied calmly. "And make sure the Thompson Group sent over the updated purchase agreement." "Yes, Dr. Sullivan. Also, the CEO of Mass General is trying to reach you about the merger proposal." Aunt Linda's fork clattered against her plate. "Schedule him for tomorrow morning," I said. "And send me the latest valuation reports for the other regional hospitals we're considering." I ended the call to find 12 pairs of eyes staring at me in stunned silence. "Sarah," Dad said slowly, "what merger proposal?" I dabbed my lips with the linen napkin. "The one where my healthcare investment firm acquires Mass General and 3 other major Boston hospitals." I checked my watch. "Which will be finalized in about 4 minutes. "Healthcare investment firm?" James sputtered. "But you're a nurse." "Actually," I smiled, "I never said I was a nurse. You all just assumed that's what I was doing at the hospital." I stood up, smoothing my Chanel dress. "Now if you'll excuse me, I have a hospital to buy." The truth was, I hadn't quit medical school because I couldn't handle it. I'd left because I saw a bigger picture. While my family focused on individual patients, I saw an entire healthcare system in need of transformation. "Would anyone like to join me in the study?" I asked, enjoying their shocked expressions. "You might find it interesting to see how healthcare administration works from the other side." The silence was deafening. "No? Well then please enjoy your dinner. I have some papers to sign that will make me the owner of the hospital where half of you work." As I walked out, I heard Aunt Linda whisper, "But she was just a nurse." I smiled, remembering all the family dinners where they'd ignored me, dismissed me, talked over me. They had no idea that while they were performing surgeries, I was building an empire. In my father's wood-paneled study, I opened my laptop and connected to the video call. 12 board members appeared on screen along with my executive team. "Good evening, Dr. Sullivan," the board chairman greeted me. "I trust we're not interrupting your family dinner." "Not at all, Charles," I replied, hearing muffled conversations from the dining room. "Let's finalize this acquisition." As I reviewed the documents, I could hear my family's voices rising in confusion and disbelief. Through the study's half-open door, snippets of conversation drifted in. "Must be some mistake. Sarah? Our Sarah. Impossible, she's just a..." My phone buzzed with breaking news alerts. Sullivan Healthcare Group set to acquire major Boston hospital network. Healthcare startup founder makes historic $4.2 billion deal. Young CEO transforms regional healthcare landscape. I signed the final document with a digital flourish. There we are, gentlemen. As of now, Sullivan Healthcare Group officially owns Mass General and its affiliated networks. "Congratulations, Dr. Sullivan," the chairman smiled. "The board looks forward to working under your leadership." After ending the call, I sat back in my father's leather chair, the same chair where he'd lectured me about throwing away my potential 6 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. A soft knock at the study door. Mom stood there looking uncertain. "Sarah, honey, what's happening?" I pulled up the company overview on my laptop and turned it toward her. Remember when I left medical school and said I was exploring other options in healthcare? She nodded, moving closer to see the screen. I saw problems that couldn't be solved from an operating room, I explained. Inefficient systems, outdated technologies, accessibility issues. So I started a healthcare investment and innovation firm. But how? She whispered, staring at the figures on the screen. Those nursing shifts at Mass General? I was actually conducting a ground-up analysis of their operations. Every department, every system, every inefficiency. I switched to another document. And that small inheritance from Grandma? I used it to start acquiring struggling medical technology companies. More footsteps. Dad appeared in the doorway, still holding his wine glass. The Sullivan Group. That's you? I nodded. I kept my involvement quiet. Used Mom's maiden name on the paperwork. I wanted to succeed or fail on my own merits, not the Sullivan name. But you're so young, he said weakly. To run something this big. I'm 32, Dad. The same age you were when you became chief of surgery. I stood up, gathering my things. Only instead of running one department, I'm transforming an entire healthcare system. James appeared behind them, his face flushed. So all those times you asked about hospital operations. I was conducting due diligence, I confirmed. Every holiday dinner, every family gathering, you all talked so freely about the hospital's problems, never realizing I was taking notes. My phone buzzed again. More congratulatory messages from investors and healthcare executives. Tomorrow my face would be on CNBC, Bloomberg, and every major business publication. The board meeting starts early tomorrow, I said, collecting my coat. We'll be announcing major modernization initiatives across all acquired facilities. Sarah, Mom started then stopped. We never knew. That was the point, I smiled gently. Sometimes being underestimated is the greatest advantage of all. As I walked through the dining room past my shell-shocked relatives, Aunt Linda called out, "But why didn't you tell us?" I paused at the door. Would you have believed me if I had? The silence was answer enough. I'll see you all at next month's dinner, I said. Though some of you might be seeing me sooner, in your quarterly leadership meetings. I stepped out into the cool Boston evening, leaving behind a family struggling to reconcile their little nurse with the healthcare mogul I'd become. My driver opened the car door and I slipped into the back seat. To the office, Miss Sullivan? Yes, I replied, watching my parents' house fade in the rearview mirror. We have a healthcare system to transform. The car pulled away from Beacon Hill, carrying me toward the empire I'd built while my family wasn't watching. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new acquisitions, new opportunities to revolutionize healthcare. But tonight I savored the sweet satisfaction of finally revealing my true role. Not as the family disappointment but as their boss. The next morning my face was everywhere. CNBC's Squawk Box had my acquisition as their lead story. Healthcare's new queen. How Sarah Sullivan built a $4.2 billion empire in silence. I sat in my corner office on the 40th floor of the Sullivan Group Tower. The building I'd secretly purchased last year, right in the heart of Boston's financial district. The wall of windows offered a perfect view of Mass General, now part of my growing network. Your family is in the lobby, my assistant Michael announced through the intercom. All of them. I checked my Cartier watch. 8:15 a.m. Let them wait 15 minutes. Then bring them to the main conference room. During those 15 minutes I reviewed the morning's developments. Our stock was up 12% on the acquisition news. 5 more hospitals had reached out about potential mergers. The innovations we'd pioneered in our smaller facilities were already being hailed as revolutionary. At exactly 8:30 I entered the conference room. My family sat around the massive table, looking distinctly uncomfortable in the sleek, modern space. Gone was last night's dinner party confidence, replaced by uncertain glances and nervous fidgeting. Welcome to Sullivan Group, I said, taking my place at the head of the table. I assume you've seen the news. Dad cleared his throat. Sarah, we've been doing some research. The numbers are incredible. How did you? I pressed a button and the wall screens came to life, displaying our company overview. 6 years ago when I left medical school I saw something none of you did. A healthcare system desperate for systematic change. While you were focused on individual procedures, I was looking at the bigger picture. But the funding, James interrupted. Starting something like this requires millions. Remember that small tech startup I mentioned working for? I pulled up another screen. I wasn't just working for them. I built it. Developed an AI system for hospital resource management. Sold it to Google Health for $50 million. Aunt Linda gasped. That was just the beginning, I continued. I used that money to acquire struggling hospitals, implement our technology, streamline operations. Each success led to bigger opportunities. Those nursing shifts, Mom said slowly, were actually facility evaluations. Every hospital I worked at ended up in our portfolio. I switched to another display, including, as of last night, Mass General. The screens showed the organizational chart. There at the top was my name, Dr. Sarah Sullivan, CEO and chairwoman. Which means, I added, watching their faces, I'm now effectively your employer. James slumped in his chair. My department will benefit from our modernization program, I assured him. All our facilities do. But there will be changes. What kind of changes? Dad asked warily. I pressed another button and new images appeared: cutting-edge operating rooms, revolutionary patient care systems, advanced diagnostic tools. The kind that transform good hospitals into exceptional ones. The kind that put patients first, streamline care, and bring healthcare into the future. I stood up, pacing slowly around the table. The kind that none of you thought possible because you were too busy maintaining the status quo. Why didn't you tell us? Mom whispered. Would you have supported me? I asked, stopping behind her chair. Or would you have tried to talk me out of it, insist I follow the traditional path, become just another Sullivan surgeon? The silence was telling. My phone buzzed, the mayor's office calling. I have meetings all day, I said, gathering my papers. But I wanted you to hear this from me first. Starting next month, we're implementing complete organizational restructuring across all facilities. Every position will be evaluated. Every department reviewed. You're firing us? Aunt Linda asked, aghast. I'm giving you the opportunity to be part of something revolutionary, I corrected. Those who can adapt will thrive. Those who can't. I shrugged. Well, there are plenty of traditional hospitals still operating in Boston. I moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Dad? That chief of surgery position you've held for 20 years? The board would like to meet with you this afternoon. Seems they have some questions about your department's resistance to implementing our new surgical AI systems. The color drained from his face. Welcome to the future of healthcare, I said, opening the door. Your performance reviews begin next week. As I walked out, leaving them sitting in stunned silence, I couldn't help but smile. The little nurse they'd dismissed was now revolutionizing their entire world. 1 month later, I stood in the newly renovated lobby of Mass General, watching the morning shift change. The difference was already striking. Medical staff moved efficiently with tablet computers synced to our AI system. Patient wait times had been cut by 60%. And our revolutionary diagnostic protocols were saving both lives and resources. Dr. Sullivan? My assistant approached. The quarterly board meeting is starting. And, your father is waiting in your office. I nodded, straightening my Burberry blazer. The past month had been transformative, not just for the hospitals but for my family. Some had adapted better than others. My office, once my father's sanctuary as chief of surgery, now reflected the new era. Gone were the dark wood panels and dusty medical tomes, replaced by glass walls and holographic displays showing real-time hospital metrics across our network. Dad stood by the window looking older than I remembered. The board meeting's about to start. I know, I replied, setting down my coffee. I called it. He turned, his expression complicated. You're really going through with the reorganization? The results speak for themselves. I gestured to the displays. Patient outcomes up 40%. Costs down 35%. Physician burnout reduced by half thanks to our AI assistance protocols. And the traditional methods? The ways we've always are obsolete, I finished firmly. Dad, you've seen the numbers. Your own department's success rate has increased by 25% since implementing our surgical AI system, the one you fought against. He sank into a chair, suddenly looking very small in my modernized office. I just never imagined my own daughter would revolutionize healthcare. I pulled up his department's statistics. Or prove that everything you thought you knew about running a hospital was outdated. Both, he admitted quietly. My phone buzzed, the board was waiting. But this moment felt important. You taught me to be thorough, precise, never to accept less than excellence, I said, sitting across from him. I just applied those principles differently than you expected. And James? Linda. James is thriving as head of our AI integration team. Turns out he's quite innovative when given the chance. I smiled slightly. Aunt Linda retired last week. Couldn't adapt to the new systems. The intercom chimed. Dr. Sullivan? The board is ready. Come with me, I said to Dad, standing. See what your little nurse has built. The boardroom fell silent as we entered. Where once it had been filled with old men in conservative suits, now it hosted a diverse group of healthcare innovators, tech experts and medical pioneers. Good morning, I took my place at the head of the table. Let's begin with our expansion updates. As of this morning, Sullivan Healthcare Group has acquired 3 more regional networks, bringing our total to 28 facilities across New England. The screens lit up with our latest achievements: groundbreaking treatment protocols, revolutionary patient care systems, unprecedented efficiency metrics. Next week, we launch our integrated healthcare AI platform nationwide. 40 major hospital systems have already signed licensing agreements. I glanced at Dad, watching him take in the scope of what I'd built. By year's end, our protocols will be the new standard in American healthcare. The presentation continued, but I kept watching Dad's face as he finally understood the full magnitude of my vision. This wasn't just about buying hospitals, it was about transforming healthcare itself. After the meeting, he lingered behind as the board members filed out. Sarah, he said softly, I was wrong. What you've built here, it's extraordinary. It's what I tried to tell you 6 years ago, I replied. Healthcare needed more than just good doctors. It needed revolution. My phone buzzed again. The governor this time wanting to discuss statewide implementation of our systems. The family dinner is tonight, Dad said hesitantly. Will you come? I smiled, remembering last month's disastrous dinner. Of course. But this time, let's skip the condescension about my career choices. He actually chuckled. I don't think anyone will make that mistake again. As he left, I turned back to the window, looking out over the city. My hospitals dotted the skyline, each one a testament to what happens when you dare to think bigger than tradition allows. The nurse they dismissed had become the architect of healthcare's future. And somewhere in every hospital bearing my name, another underestimated person was watching, learning, and preparing to forge their own path. Sometimes the greatest success comes from being overlooked. It gives you the freedom to build something revolutionary while no one's watching. And I had built something that would change healthcare forever. The intercom buzzed one final time. Dr. Sullivan? The White House is holding on line 1.